Hey guys, this channel is powered by you the viewer, and to give back we always try to hook you guys up with discount codes from our partners to help you save cash, because every little counts, right? Now I've put all these links in the description below, but a huge thank you goes out to Mars Hydro. You can get a discount on all their grow lights and grow equipment using the discount code ICANTHC at checkout. Their lights rock and I've been using them for years, no problems, only great results. Perfect. Seedsman, if you're looking for new magic beans, then they've got you covered. They have a huge selection with many popular ones like Humboldt, Fast Buds, Cali Connection, Mephisto, Rare Dankness, and much more. Use the link in the description below to see their fire catalog. Neptune's Harvest. When it comes to organic fertilizers, they've got some of the absolute best around. I've been using them for so long and on so many of my plants, not just the medicinal ones, if you know what I mean. Operating out of Gloucester, Massachusetts, Neptune's Harvest provides amazing quality fish, shellfish, and even lobster to lots of the best supermarkets, restaurants, and retailers on the East Coast. Now, many of you may not know this, but when a fish is filleted, which is the process of removing the edible portion from the fish, up to 70% of it remains. What's left are the heads, exoskeletons, scales, and fins, and this is usually called gurry. Back in the day, this gurry was taken back out to sea on fishing boats and dumped back into the water. Obviously, this was not ideal, and there's a need for a more economical and environmentally sound method of use for this valuable byproduct. That's where Neptune's Harvest comes in. Perfect. In conjunction with the state of Massachusetts and its local universities, Neptune's Harvest has been able to turn an environmental hazard into an environmental benefit. Boasting some of the best liquid fertilizers and constantly improving their processes, Neptune's Harvest has some of the finest nutrients available on the market today. Your plants will absolutely love them. Don't doubt me, try them for yourself and hit that link in the description. Don't forget to use the code ICANTHC for a discount as well. Perfect. Now all those links are down below, guys, so definitely check those out. You won't regret it.
We're about to take it back.
Okay.
Yes, guys, welcome back to another episode on the Talkin Loud podcast, where we discuss everything dank, sticky, icky, gassy, and all that good stuff. And today, I got a very special guest in the house, man, and I'm super stoked to have him on, because a lot of you love frosty flowers. And if you love frosty flowers, then this is one episode that you're definitely not going to want to miss. So I'm super stoked to bring on to the show, Jared, man. How's it going, Jared?
Good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be on.
Hell yeah, man! Most definitely, I'm super stoked to have you on. It's an awesome time when you're kicking it, man. I look at a lot of the videos of you on the DGC channel, a lot of the videos on you on the other channels as well, man. And you're always there kicking it, having a great time, and just dropping some crazy knowledge as well, dude.
No, I appreciate that. It's always fun. It's always great to connect with the community. This podcast, this media form has been really interesting in the last few years, in the way that you really get to get out and connect with people in a way that, we really were never able to do before, and people, get to see you, get to hear you, and then you get to go out in the community. I mean, like literally everywhere I go, literally everywhere around the world, I've had people come up, whether it's Dude Grows or our podcast or other ones that I've done, Adam Dunn's one that we've done regularly. It's just, it's a really fun way to connect with people. So yeah, thanks for letting me come in and chat with your community.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Thank you for taking the time. I literally hit you up, and I was telling you, I think just off air, man, that the first time I actually heard about New Millennium was from one of the guests on the podcast, and he was like, dude, this winter frost stuff. I was actually lover of the sticky nugs, man. So shout out to him. Yeah, he was like, dude, this is some crazy stuff, and he grows some fire. So I was like, wow, what is this about?
Right. Well, and it's lovely too. I mean, that's truly, we're a small independent, so like that's the kind of stuff that we really, really do depend on. We don't have this massive marketing budget. We don't have some of that kind of influencer type push that's behind it like some other brands do. So, and we're okay with that, because it's a very organic growth process. When we get people on the team, like they're on the team and they're on the team forever, and they're excited to tell people about it. Point in case, you know what I mean? So yeah, thank you, lover of the sticky nugs, for putting the info out there. Because I will say, early on when we first started doing this, it was funny because it was tough for people to even put the word out there like that, because they loved it so much. It was like their secret weapon. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was like, and I can't even get mad at somebody, right? If you find a product like that you really believe in that much, and you're like, because at the end of the day, there's always competition between you and your homies. You always want to be growing the best, right? Facts. So, facts, right? So it's like, and everybody wants to come to the session and be like, yep, I'm the one with the jar.
That's
so
mine.
so like, it's fun putting that out in people's hands. And for a long time, people kind of kept that to themselves and said, no, I'm not going to tell anybody. I actually had a buddy of mine admit one time that he had some people ask him about it. And this is years ago. And he was like, oh no, I tried it. It's no good. I was like, you motherfucker.
You lying, bro. You straight up lying.
Yeah, he was lying. But, and I tell people, look, if the stuff didn't work, man, being that we're who we are, we wouldn't be here. We'd have been gone a long time ago. You know what I mean? Because we just don't have, we don't have some of the things behind us like some other people do. But again, we like it. I always like to say we're some West Coast gunslingers. You know what I mean? We all come out of the black market. It's something we've been doing this for a long time. We got the opportunity to kind of come over on this side of things and sell the picks and shovels, if you will. And so, it's that when people ask what I do, I say I sell picks and shovels to gold miners.
I like that. That's a great analogy, bro. Because a lot of the people out here, we're looking for those gold mines, and Millennium Nutrients is definitely helping you do that, man. And the winter frost, I'm actually seeing someone has dropped a comment right here. AJ says, been loving the winter frost, man. So shout out to AJ on that. And we can get into a lot of these stuff, man. And we definitely will. So guys, smash the like button if you know about Millennium Nutrients, new Millennium Nutrients. And if you know what they're doing some awesome stuff for the community, man. I had the awesome pleasure of kicking it with some of the guys at Canacon. So that was friggin' amazing, man. And seeing the truck, man, the little van, the bus. I don't even know what to call it. What do you guys call it, man?
We call it the smoke wagon because we'll take it to events and we'll set up like a dab station and back and stuff. But it's an old ice cream truck is really like what it is. And we've got it all wrapped new Millennium. It's got 15s in it, so it's got a big old stereo system in it. So like when we're at events, like we did that the Secret Stash with Groovy Gravy downtown. It was a genetics swap event. It was great. It's fantastic. Wolf does a really good job at those events. But we took it down there, and it was a big hit. It was a big hit.
That's so crazy, man. It reminds me of like the Dabulance, coming to think of it, man. You know the Dabulance from
yeah,
you definitely know about the Dabulance.
I know about the Dabulance. Yeah, Scotty was even like, he's like, oh man, he's like, what are you trying? I was like, hey, not trying to get up on your steez, just had to do our own little thing. So again, it's that's where we really shine is with the community. We're still growers, you know what I mean? We still know what we're talking about. I come around with flour. I mean, that's the reason, I tell everybody, it's like the way this company was put on the map was pretty much with a jar in my back pocket. You know what I mean? And it was, especially when nobody knew us. I mean, I spent years going in, hey, you ever heard of, nope, never heard of you. Nope, never heard of you. Nope, never heard of you. And at a certain point, we were at a show one time and we weren't getting any love, and it was in Denver, and I was kind of pissed off. It was an Indo Expo, like probably 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And I was like, man, and there was an unnamed genetics company across the way from us that had jars out. And I was rather unimpressed with the quality of the flour they were putting out. And I'm like, you know what, man, what do we got to lose? I was like, we're getting no love here. So I just brought out, and I had a bunch of jars, just not that I even intended to show off, just that I had. Yeah. And just started busting out my jars. And all of a sudden, we started getting a lot more traffic. It's almost like, the cartoons like Pepe Le Pew, like floating down, what I mean?
We're making progress now, people.
So people just started floating our way, and so right there I was kind of like, well, man, really, it's all about the end product. It's really all about the proof in the pudding. I can sit here and talk about shit all day, but it really doesn't matter. People want to see the end product. So it just kind of altered a little bit of the way that we approach things, and and it's really worked out for us. So
hell yeah, man. That is amazing, man. That is beautiful, man. I'm actually coming to think of it, like you guys are based out here in Colorado as well, right? For those who don't know, that's where you guys are based, right?
Yep, we're based here out of Colorado. Neil Watson, who's behind the company, he's a formulator and chemist. He was with GH for a long, long time, and left in the late 90s to start a cannabis-specific line based around the seasons. That's why you'll see the equinox is essentially your micro. You'll see spring, summer, autumn. That's basically meant to emulate what would be available in the soil colloid at that time of the year if it were outside. So obviously, as the soil start warming out of the winter, come into the summer, different elements are available. Same thing as it gets even warmer through the summer and you got big vegetative plants, different elements are available. And then as they cool back down into the fall and into, and of course, winter frost time, and winter frost being the finisher. So it's not, meant to be used outside. It's meant to, not that you can't obviously, but it's really meant to like think like what is available with everything else being artificial. How can we bring, some more natural type processes and make available what would be available at that time of the year. So there's a lot of grower control. You use it a 1-to-3 ratio, much like GH is. You have that seasonal aspect. Spring's basically young veg, summer mature veg, autumn is flower, and then of course winter is the finisher. So a lot of grower control, but what most people really do know us for is the winter frost. We call it the gateway jug.
I love that one, dude.
I started that some years ago because I used to, it was a joke, right? Because I was like, and I had to kind of figure it out again, when you got a full line and you're new, you like going at people with all 9 or 10 bottles, man, that's tough. You're like, you're never gonna, not these growers, man. You're never, especially somebody that's being successful. It's one thing if they come in and they're like, man, I hate what I'm doing. What do you got? All right, cool. There's an opportunity for a whole line. In most situations, that's not even who I'm wanting to deal with. I'm wanting to deal with the people that are doing good, right? I want to deal with people that are doing good work. I deal with the best growers, the best commercial people, the best hash makers, because we're really about genetic expression, genetic potential, phenotypic expression, right? We're about taking whatever's there and really expressing it, right? So we want good growers that are doing good work and also can see the difference, right? If you don't know, how the hell are you even going to see the difference, right? Or if you don't have a good controlled environment, good genetics and experience as a grower, how are you ever going to see the difference in the nutrients, right?
Yeah.
So for people like that, it became much easier to go, okay, well, let me get one bottle and let me see if I can talk them into one bottle. And winter frost being a pre-flush, so you stand alone right there at the end, nothing else changes, became pretty easy to talk people into. So I just had this joke going forever, and I call it the gateway drug. But I was like, man, I can't put that on a shirt, And one day I was just driving down the road, and I was just rolling it through my head. I was like, there's got to be a better way to say it. And it just came to me, gateway jug. And so I
absolutely love that, dude. That like fully deserves an air horn for that, dude. I love that one, bro.
So it just and it's become a really good campaign for us because people also understand it. They go, oh, okay, I get it. That is the gateway into the line, right? Yeah. And then at that point, it literally goes, okay, what else you got? You know what I mean? And now at that point, I've gained the trust, I've gained the relationship because, sales really is, it's not about the products initially. It's about selling, me first, whether that's at a show, whether that's in a shop, whether that's on the road. And again, it's the herbs that really help, just put that out there and puts everybody on. Because now they go, I mean, in a nutshell, it's basically like, you know what you're talking about. You basically show them that you know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And reality is, cannabis has had, a corporate, let's just say, push that's come into it, so like not everybody's out there able to do that. Not everybody out there's necessarily even grown a plant, which is crazy to say, but it's true.
It is so true, man. But one thing that you mentioned, man, is that a lot of people refer to it as the gateway jug, and I didn't even know that one. But what I did know is that a lot of great growers growing some great product do use the New Millennium stuff, man. And for those who don't know, New Millennium, I've just pulled up their website on screen now. They've got a bunch of different base nutrients. They've got additives, so you definitely should check it out. If you guys know Colin from Ethos, you guys actually had a podcast episode with him recently. It was the Ready, Set, Grow podcast, and I believe that Colin also uses New Millennium stuff, man, and that just goes to show the level of you guys' quality, man. The quality, it speaks for itself pretty much, right?
Yep, absolutely. And for anybody who wants to check it out, I know we were up on Spotify. Thank you for that shout out, by the way, too. It's Ready, Set, Grow. It's a 5/8 distribution podcast that we're doing. And we did have Colin on and Jair, who was formerly of Gavita and is now with Dutch Lighting Innovations, also distributed by 5/8. Had them both on. It was really interesting to hear Colin, really talk about why he uses New Millennium. I mean, he's been using it a long time. It's cool to say, well, why do you use it? And again, it really does go back to that phenotypic expression, right? Because like, what is phenotype? Very, very basically and very straightforward. It's genotype plus environment equals phenotype. And part of that environment is nutrients. you know. So, and, you know, and I like to talk a lot about, and I probably do on there too, talk a bit about, you know, just what really is like on the hierarchy of importance, you know, because if you don't have everything else put together, like honestly, nutrients should be the last of your worries. It's kind of like somebody coming in and going, when I used to be at the shop and they're like, hey, so like, I want to get into CO2. And I'm like, you're not even growing yet. Like you're literally, you're so backwards here. Like that should be the last thing that goes in, you know, figure out your light, figure out environment,
Priorities.
get good genetics, you know what I mean? Like all those things. And then at the end of the day, practice, man, put plants in the ground, get clones, take cuts, plant seeds, practice, mess up, make mistakes, you know, because that's really the only way to learn. And again, fortunately, it's not like when I started growing. I mean, when I started growing, it was, you didn't have, I mean, I remember going and picking up my first clones and I won't mention what state, but anyway, I went up pick up my first clones and it was from a homie and I had a book. I got a book, you know, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to, you know, he'll tell me how to grow, right? This is easy.
Yeah.
And so I flipped the book open and he starts going and he's like literally so all over the place, so ADD with the shit. I'm like, I just closed the book, put it down, realized I was going to have to figure it out for myself. And so I drove from there straight to a Barnes and Noble with my clones and bought Jorge Cervantes' original Grow Bible. And I highlighted that better than any textbook that I ever used in my life. And there's some questionable information in there as you know, you go back and you get some experience, but you know, to get me off the ground, I mean, that's literally, that's how I learned. And then you put the book down and you just start learning yourself. You know what I mean? You just keep going and you keep planting and you keep just doing the shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
dude. So true. And experimentation is like a lot of it. Experimentation is a huge thing, man. And so much so that like I've realized like a lot of the times you gotta like crawl before you can run, you know, you gotta make those mistakes, you gotta F up, you gotta burn some plants, you gotta had some bad harvests, you gotta do all those stuff, man. You gotta overwater shit. It just happens. It's like a rite of passage almost. And then you learn so much from that.
Well, and it's, you know, it's definitely trial by fire, you know what I mean? And it hardens you as a grower, you know what I mean? You lose a couple of crops and, you know, and you stay in the game and it's, you know, it's not for the faint of heart. You know what I mean? It's like, I've had my battles that made me want to quit. You know what I mean? And it's like, you want to pull your hair out, but then it's like, you either double down or you quit. You know what I mean? And growing's a lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's funny, although we're not even really growers, right? We don't grow shit. The plants grow themselves.
Yeah.
I always think that's kind of funny. I mean,
we just facilitate it.
We're plant janitors. Okay. We clean the plants. We clean the shit around them. We clean. One of the best memes I've ever seen was a guy like, this is what people think a grower is. And it's all flossing out, you know, gold, throwing money and shit. And then, but this is really what it is. And it's a fucking janitor, you know, pushing around his cart, cleaning shit, because that's really what I do more cleaning than anything else. I stare at the plants, you know.
Yeah, I do a lot of that too. I look at the shit, even on camera. It's like, am I watching TV?
Yeah. So it's like, and that's what's amazing about plants, though, right? They're autotrophs, we're heterotrophs. You know, the fact that they make their own food, that's what makes them just evolutionarily higher than we are. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. It's you know, they were here before us and they're going to be here after us. You know what I mean? And that's 100%. Which is why I also find this whole, and I'm not pointing any fingers with this clean gardening thing. There's no such thing as plants and lack of microbes. Microbes and plants and microbes. Those are synonymous. Yeah. They do not exist apart from each other. So let me just throw that one out there. That's you know,
just for those who may have it confused.
Yeah, for anybody that's wondering, those two things are absolutely synonymous.
Oh yeah. But one thing I love to ask, man, and I gotta ask, is like I ask everyone on the show, is about the name. So New Millennium Nutrients, man. Like, how did that name come about? Like, just what's the inspiration behind it?
No, that's a really good question. It was originally actually Millennium. So Neil left the company he was working for probably like the mid 90s and originally called it Millennium. And actually even Winter Frost was in a silver bottle and it was called Twilight. which is the original. And so for any like real old schoolers out there,
geez.
it's like you have to be real OG to like know what I'm talking about. But there may be somebody, and I run across a few people every once in a while that do. But it was called Millennium originally. And again, this thought process of like, you know, bringing in the synchronicity of creating what's available in the solar colloid outdoors, indoors. That's where Neil had the whole Millennium thing. Well, then he shut it down, went back to work for another company, left again, and that's when he called it New Millennium the second time around. Now, the one thing about that is what gets weird is if you see it, that's not the correct spelling of Millennium. It's actually an incorrect spelling.
Dude, every single time I typed it in, I would spell it wrong. So I'm glad that you. Thank you, bro.
It's one of the banes of my existence. And I literally was like, "Why did you guys spell it wrong?" But it was like a copyright thing. There was already a Millennium something else, and so we just whacked an N off and ran with it. But it can't make it harder for people to find you when you're not spelled correctly. I'll tell you what. And then my email address used to be at newmillenniumnutrients.com with Millennium spelled wrong. I was like, all right, guys, like enough of this shit. I was like, so yeah, it is now nmgardens.co for anybody that's wondering.
A lot easier on the tongue, a lot easier on the brain.
Yeah,
you know? Exactly. A lot easier for the mentors, for us those out here. But another thing I noticed, man, is that the logo, it's a lot of people may not pick up on this, but that's actually what they call an ambigram, right?
That is absolutely correct. It reads the same, not just forward and backwards, but upside down. So if you think about it, when you're pouring a bottle, when you're pouring the nutrients out of the bottle, it's still going to read the same when you pour it upside down.
Yeah, dude, that is pretty crazy. Like you can flip it, like look at it back to front, sideways, upside down, and it still says New Millennium on it.
Yep. Now, if you don't know, and of course, you know, logos are such the way they work that they end up being it's just kind of their own thing. People don't really read them anymore. But same thing when we came out with that, I was like, all right, I love the look. This looks awesome. However, if you don't know what it is, you're never going to be able to spell it, and it's spelled incorrectly. But anyway, you know,
that's just one you got to be mindful of. That's
right. Then again, you know, we're being you know, small grassroots. It's kind of like it's one of those things. Like if you know, you know. Yeah. That's the other thing. And so, like at the same time, it's like that's why, you know, it's whatever. That's why even with on the Frost t-shirts that we did because I forgot that you had to. Honestly, like when I came up with the Gateway Jug, I kind of forgot that, you know, it actually meant something, you know, what is it? Drug awareness, resistance education. Right. And I was like, shit, I have to actually come up with something. Yeah. Because I pulled up, I was in the Northeast and I pulled up to a parking spot and it was on a big dumpster. There was an old Dare sticker, no bullshit. And that's what reminded me. It said it right on. I was like, it's like, oh man, I was like, I got to come up with an acronym now. But I didn't want it to be like, I wanted it to be like where a soccer mom could look at me like, oh, that's cute. Or somebody that like knows it really knows. And that's, you know, so for ripening of superior trees. And that's why I did trees in there because it's like everybody loves trees, but the people who really like are in the community know. You know what I mean?
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. You know,
Oh,
so
man.
it's kind of the same thing like with the mammoth hat. You know what I mean? It's just it's nothing but the mammoth. And like I was wearing one time and a guy thought I was like a paleontologist or something. You know what I mean? He's like, I really love that mammoth hat.
Are you with the vet service?
So you know, in a way it's like we like if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. And that's totally fine with us. You know what I mean?
I like that.
We're getting into plenty of different you know, lots of different corners of the market, you know what I mean? Nice. And the reality is like not everything is for everybody. And that's one of the things that we really try and work on. So it's never about, you know, me trying to slot everything in. It's going, what are you doing right now? Where are you being successful? And where can things slot in? And maybe they can't, you know what I mean? That's possible. I mean, I would challenge somebody to do that because I guarantee I can get something in somewhere. But like, you know, sometimes like I've been in a commercial facility, for example, like, hey, I'd love to run the product. I literally don't have another injector. What do you do? You know what I mean? So like, it's either you put another injector in or we're not using it, you know? So I try and be cognizant of that too. Just everybody's got different goals. You know, some people's goals are, you know, I was talking with Scotty about this the other day, like with his grow dots, you know what I mean? And for certain people, like that's perfect for them. Yeah. Absolutely perfect. Put in the backyard, throw some grow dots in there, water that shit in, never worry about it. The people that I tend to work with, though, they're really looking for that genetic expression. They're looking for oil content because the reality is we're oil farmers, okay? And
Yeah.
people get that screwed up a lot.
Yeah.
Whether you decide to consume it on your flower or without flower, that's the horticulturally significant part of the plant.
I
Right.
actually had that like down to mention, man. So just break that down. Like I heard you mention on some other show. I can't even remember what it was now, but you mentioned like you guys are oil farmers. You're like, I'm an oil farmer. That's you guys need to understand that. So just break it down. What exactly is an oil farmer?
Well, and let me start with this and say, well, we're oil farmers. Why? Because that's what we've decided is horticulturally significant in this plant. Now, let's say a hemp plant. All of a sudden, the oil may not be the horticulturally significant part of the plant. If you're growing it for fiber, for example, you're going to plant it completely different. You're going to plant it really, really tight. You're going to do really long, thin, tall plants because that's what you're growing it for, right? So when I was in horticulture school, one of the things they talk about again is horticultural significance. So it's like, what are you growing the plant for? Are you growing a squash plant for the blossoms or the leaves, or are you growing it for the squash? You know, who comes to you and talks to you about their strawberry plant and how big the basal part of the portion of the plant is? Nobody ever, right? They talk about how many strawberries, how big they are, and most importantly, how they taste, right? So that's cannabis, right? Cannabis is all about the oil, specifically, not even the full trichome, just the head of the trichome, and that's really what we should be shooting for, because also oil weighs more than plant matter. So that's the other thing that really annoys me, is that we're talking about a convention that is based on biomass, right? And that convention being pounds per light. That's bullshit. Okay. It should be something more like, and don't get me wrong, like I'm not smart enough to be the guy that comes up with the new convention, but it should be something like, percent extract per meter cubed or something, because it can't be square. It needs to be cubed, because you also have a lot of people that are doing vertical farming and shit these days. I was just in a facility with 6 levels of LEDs in Florida not too long ago. So, I mean, like, you have to really think about things at a totally different level now. And at the end of the day, that's what should matter. It should matter what the extract percentages are, what the terpene extracts are. That's all those percentages should be what mattered, because the reality is all of these base nutrients, and essentially ours included, is based off a 1950s Hoagland recipe, which was for biomass. It was for corn, soybeans, cotton. None of that is for oil production. None of that is for anything other than biomass. I mean, even point in case, the difference between agronomy and horticulture can be a pretty fine line. Corn can be both.
Yeah.
As a field crop, it's agronomy. It has a lot less inputs, a lot less human touch. As sweet corn, because it has more inputs, more human touch, that's a horticultural plant, right? So it really does depend on the effort that's put into the plant about whether it's one or the other, and how you deal with it.
Yeah.
So again, I really like talking about horticultural significance, and so that's what we should be focusing on. So if that's a horticulturally significant part of the plant, in other words, if the oil is our strawberry, that's what we should be trying to grow more of. So products like Winter Frost, you see how I brought that back around?
Yes, full circle. I like that.
Products like Winter Frost, they legitimately will swell the size of the head 2 to 3 times larger. You will get more percentage in terpenes. You will get higher THC percentages. So you will get data-driven results, which not only is anecdotal, and most of the people, when I was anecdotal, I never saw the data until people like Jack Whipple at the Whipple Effect and Ramsey, and some of these people started actually, with kind of the crop steering phenomenon and whatnot. And in particular, Jack with the Whipple Effect has been a big fan of ours, and he wouldn't be using it if he didn't see it at the data. Trust me on that. Trust me on that. Those guys, they don't use shit unless they're seeing it.
Facts.
So, we got to see it on the anecdotal level just as a grower for many years. And then as things have progressed, as testing has become more available, as a lot of this, people have taken a more data-driven approach, we've got to see it on that side too, which, honestly has done nothing but help push us farther,
Hell yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, fuck me, dude. That's crazy cool. But what I want to say, man, before I actually ask this question, I just want to say shout out to Hipsters and Hippies, man. He says he's going to have to watch this one later. Seems like he's having a little bit of a rough day. And just want to say, hang in there, brother. Hang in there.
Yep, hang in there.
100%. And Stints as well. He says he feels a little bit lonely and he's glad he's catching this live. Thanks for putting our touch on the cannabis scene. We're better off with our presence. So shout out to Stints as well, man. Appreciate you guys. But someone had asked, man, can you get winter frost in Canada? How do you get it?
I'm getting that question more and more and more. So there's Bloom's Grow Tech, which is in Edmonton, which at least it's centrally located. That's Great White Bud actually on Instagram. He's one of the guys that's a partner in that store. You can hit him up on there. You can go up there. Sample wise, I definitely will send some samples to Canada, and I have regularly just to kind of get up there. We are registered up there, just don't have a lot of retail action yet. Reality is, if somebody wants a real order, hit me up. Can either do it on Instagram or, as I mentioned before, Jaron at nmgardens.co. That's JERIN at nmgardens.co. We can definitely take care of you. I wish I had more availability in Canada right now, and one day.
Very soon, man. Very soon, I'm sure. But don't mean to put you on the spot, but what you thinking? What if we can do a little giveaway, man, and get something going for some of the viewers on here? Maybe they can grab a chance to win some new Millennium.
Yeah, no doubt. We've got. I mean, again, it's seeing is believing, so we're all about putting the products in people's hands.
Perfect.
So easy peasy.
That's what's up, guys. So definitely drop it in the comments. Drop some frost. I want to see that frost. If you know about the winter frost, if you don't, you're definitely going to get a chance to find out about it, man, because that shit is crazy, crazy awesome. So I want to see the frost in the comments, man, and smash the like button for that, because Jaron is an awesome guy, dropping some crazy knowledge, man. And I got another question, man. Do you remember the first time that you actually smoked weed?
I do, vividly.
Wow. Let's hear it, man.
I do. Yeah. So it's funny, like, I absolutely orchestrated my first time smoking weed. And what I mean by that, it wasn't, I grew up playing sports. I actually went to school on a football scholarship to college originally. Oh. So I was very, very into sports, but I also like to have a good time. So I was aware of cannabis through middle school. It was definitely around. I knew some people that, but so freshman year of high school, I was actually in a debate class, and we had a debate tournament that was coming up that we had to work. This is terrible.
I debate smoking weed.
Yeah. So we had to work, and we either had to be in it or we had to work some part of it. Right. And there was and I knew enough about weed that, this is going to make sense here pretty quick. I knew enough about weed. I was like, all right. I'm going to get stoned, and then I'm going to fucking go work in the concession stand. I was like, what better place, right? I'm going to be fucking high as shit. I'm going to want something to eat. So I signed up for the concession stand, and then I set up with another guy that was in class. We got a bag after school, went off, got fucking just rip roaring high. But like, guarantee I was the only person in the room. It was my first time getting stoned. It's like, 12, 15 people. And it's a bunch of freshmen, it's like the one house you can smoke weed at. So like everybody's there after school, and you could walk there from the high school.
Yeah.
So walk over there, get completely blazed. I remember my buddy says like, hey man. And I just laugh my ass off for like 30 minutes. I get to the concession stand. I go in there. I just start eating everything. And so they're like, dude, you got to get the fuck out of here.
Munchies kicked in hard, man. Those munchies kicked in super hard.
Like so hard. So they're like, you got to get out of here. And I was like, all right, fine. So I got out of there, just like wandering around the halls of the high school, ran into my dad. I was all stoned. I was like, oh, I'm still working. Come back later. Yeah. So
I love it, bro.
I vividly remember my first time smoking weed.
That's awesome, man. I think that's like the most funny story I've heard, coming to think of it, on that, man. But I think that's also the perfect time that we can just segue into the Know Your Bud segment, man. This segment is actually sponsored by and in this segment we pretty much just ask you a real few questions, man. All we do is we like to say that this is a segment where I like to say that everyone that comes onto the show is my bud. So I like to find out what you do with your buds, So it's just a couple questions that I'm going to ask you. There's no right or wrong answer. Just tell me what's your preference and why. I'm just going to throw out a couple options. You just tell me which one you roll with,
Gotcha. Easy enough.
Man. Sounds good, man. We got Jaron on the Know Your Bud segment, man. All righty. First question is paper towel, glass of water method, or straight into the soil. When it comes to germination, what's your preference and why?
I like going straight into soil because that's how seeds are meant to be. That's no, God didn't fucking put a seed into a paper towel and germinate. Paper towels are for germination tests. That's really what that's for. The fact of the matter is a radical is going to pretty easily grow into the fibers of that towel, can very easily get ripped off. You take off that meristem, it's over, you're done. So you could have literally lost your unicorn before it ever got out of the paper. So great for germinate. And if you want to drop them in the cup and then put them in the soil, I'm okay with that because you're just kind of pre-imbibing it. It would be like soaking peas. Peas is always a great idea to soak peas ahead of time because they really need to get that full imbibing. And you've got a hard coat. Now you can also nick that seed coat a little bit and help break some of that some of the seed coat there, and that'll help imbibe as well. But again, put them in the soil. That's the way it was intended. Evolutionarily, that's what I'm into.
Yeah, God didn't use no fucking paper towel. What you talking about? I love that, dude. Oh man, I'm gonna have to keep that one in the memory bank. Next time someone asks me, I'm gonna be like, God didn't use no paper towel, motherfucker. What you talking about? I like that one, dude. Alrighty, man. The next question is feminized or regs. What's your preference and why?
I like regs because I primarily save seeds too. So as a seed saver, I like having males and females. As a seed popper, if you're really popping a lot of seeds, femmes can be a lot of fun. Because I don't pop a lot of seeds, I'm more into regs. Same thing. It's also like reality is these plants want to be on one. They would like to be on the same plant if they can be. Yeah. So evolutionarily, they're on the same thing. We actually were the ones that selected it out into more of a dioecious as opposed to monoecious plant. So I like that. Regs. Yep.
I like that. I think I kind of lean that way as well, but they're pros and cons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I can make it easily an argument for either. And really, for me, that kind of depends a little more on situation than anything else. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I always said Americans were seed savers, like Europeans, Spaniards specifically were seed poppers. So that's why they loved feminized, because they were just always putting out lots of seeds. You know what I mean? Whereas we were always like, a lot of times Americans are like baseball cards or seeds. You know what I mean? It's like people have their collection, and it's more of like a collection than it is something they truly intend to ever pop, which is just kind of crazy. But anyway.
Smart. Shout out to Bobby, man. Bobby says, love this guy. Smash the like button, fam. Man, you got a few fans out here, man. And I think I would agree, man. You're a really chill cat, and I'm loving some of these stories. But the next question is hydro or soil? What's your preference and why?
Well, so that's kind of a complicated question too. I actually do, in a way, I do both. I mean, I do what would be considered, traditional drain to waste hydro, which is in cocoa, which is, that's technically soilless. Although it's kind of, in my mind, I like it. It's the kind of forgiving side of hydroponics. But it operates a little bit more like soil. So traditionally, I do like the soil food web, and I do like that association with plants. And I find that to be very important. And I can have a similar microbial situation with cocoa as opposed to true traditional hydro, because really when I think hydro, I mean, I'm thinking like deep water culture, NFT, really true, hydroponics. And it could be great, but you're also running on a razor's edge. You know what I mean?
So true. Yeah, pros and cons, like you said, man. Well, the next question is photoperiods or autoflowers. Tricky one again.
Yeah, tricky one as well. I've never grown any autoflowers. They'd be fun to mess around with a little bit outdoors, I think, especially here in Colorado. Like, again, I can totally see the point of them. You know what I mean? And it seems that, there's definitely like, seems to be some pretty good genetics going around in that world as well. Yeah. I probably, in my collection, I'll bet you I've got a few in there. I mean, I get gifted things here and there, I probably got some night owl stuff in there. I would almost almost guarantee.
Those are one of the more reputable ones recently that I've been hearing good stuff about.
Definitely.
And I was thinking it would probably be interesting just to throw an auto outdoors out here in Colorado, like in the middle of summer, man. So I probably missed that opportunity just a little bit, but maybe next time.
Yeah. I might try some next year. It's again, I'm very equal opportunity when it comes to cannabis, whether it's growing styles.
You don't discriminate,
styles, bro. I don't, but in general, I'm a photoperiod guy. Yep.
I got you. I like that, man. Okay, next up we got synthetic or organics. What's your preference?
Well, another interesting one, because really, New Millennium is a meeting of the minds. It's about 60% synthetic, 40% organic. So I really think that having that initial availability from synthetics, and then with some of the long lasting and quality driven pieces of biostimulants and organics is really, really important. So I really like a little bit of both, and we obviously focus on our synthetics are mineral organic synthetics. So they are rock, they're rock, they're mined minerals, as opposed to being like ammoniacal nitrogen or something like that. There is certainly specifically in nitrogen, there's ways to make it, you know what I mean? Anhydrous ammonia, things like that. But it's a dirty form of nitrogen. And it takes a shitload of energy from a human perspective to actually make that. That's one of the reasons why, that it actually is explosive and whatnot, is all that energy that's actually trapped in there, right? Well, remember Oklahoma City, that was anhydrous ammonia. So I also can have a lot of it on hand because you can't, it's a liability. But I always like to make a point too that in synthetics there are different levels of synthetics, there are different forms of synthetics. There's a difference between a mined mineral organic and a lab derived. So
yeah, I like that, man. Interesting points, man. A lot of people don't really, say that and don't bring up some of those points. So props to you on that one. And the following question that I'm about to ask also did bring up a controversial answer on the last episode. So wet trim or dry trim? What's your preference and why?
That's a good one. Again, I find it to be situational. People are probably gonna. I'm probably gonna have some people out there that are gonna hate me for this, but I wet trim. I still wet trim. One of my favorite memes I ever saw was from Coma, and it said something along the lines of, "Do you have any history of mental illness in your family?" And he goes, "Well, my cousin does still wet trim," and I about fell out of my fucking chair. Like, so I have seen some amazing results with dry trim. It is messier in my opinion. Like I really, to do that, I would want to have a much more dialed dry room. Gotcha. I have a drying tent, but I don't control humidity or control temperature. It's basically, me, feel, time, you know what I mean? Just me having done this forever. So in a perfect world, in a perfect world, a dry trim is awesome. Yeah. In my world, and needing to like get things done and everything else and the way I do shit, I still wet trim. I'll admit it. I do.
And that's absolutely fine, man. There's like more than one way to do things, dude. And that's actually what the guy said on the last episode. Shout out to Kronk, man. And he said that, and someone dropped in the comments after the video went live, and he was like, dude, like this dude wet trims and something. And I was just like, dude, there's so many different ways to do things,
Hey, look, I've never had anybody complain about the quality of my herb. I'm sure some people would be like, what, you wet trim this? I'm like, yeah, I do. I mean, like I'm careful, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've got my ways, you know what I mean? And the thing is I travel too. So it's like, it's tough to keep it all going. You know what I mean? And I travel a lot, I've got family. So it's like, I got to have my garden like real fucking dialed.
I got you,
man. Real dialed.
Makes sense. I love that. We're a little bit similar in that way, man. But let's see if we're a little bit similar in the next question. Bong or joint? What's your preference and why?
Well, I'm smoking a joint right now.
Smoking the joint. I figured so.
So, which is funny. Normally at home, I'll smoke a pipe or a small bong just because it'll be like, I'm sitting at the desk and I'll doing emails and I'll take one rip and then put it down, but I don't like having glass on the road. I got so you. Like on the road, I pretty much roll up all the time. And then at home I smoke more glass. Yeah. For podcasts, sometimes it's just a little more convenient having a joint, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I actually think that, one of the purest ways to actually consume cannabis is a joint. And if you think about it, and actually shout out to Swami. I saw him do a video on this one time and he's talking about, because we're all well aware of terpenes and their volatility and things like that, knowing that they volatilize at different temperatures and whatnot, right? So his thought process behind it is a joint is the best way to get that whole gradient, because if you think about it, it starts out here. So at the end of the joint, the smoke's pretty cool coming across it originally. Yeah. So things that are the most volatile at the lowest temperatures are taken off right there, right? But then the high volatility ones, and as that moves down, that gradient comes across the entire joint. Starts hot here, cools down through the joint. And I was like, ooh, woo, right?
Dude, mind
right,
blown. That's the
right.
first time I've ever thought of it that way.
Well, I can't claim it. That's why I had to, but he talks about it, and I was like, yeah, that makes complete
Shout out to Swami, dude.
sense,
That's
dude.
wow.
Yeah, complete sense. Now he does take about 30 minutes to like ramrod the hardest fucking pack joint you've ever seen in your life, and it's like thing must smoke for like an hour. But yeah, I was like, man, that's a really cool way to think of it. It's a really way, and so he's a joint guy. If you asked him, he would say joint, and that's one of the reasons he would say to get the fullest entourage effect.
Yeah,
that's his contention.
Hell yeah, I got you, man. I actually love joints, man, but bongs are convenient. They help me save shit. So I don't know. But when I really want to taste my flower, dude, honestly, there's nothing better than a joint, and I rip that glue off and I get to taste everything. I try to use as little paper as possible, dude. Like, sure. I just really want to taste my flower, not paper, my flower.
Yep. And, even shout out to Mark Grandiflora Genetics. One thing he said one time, he's a buddy of mine. So he's a blunt smoker. And he's a real taste guy. I mean, he's a taste guy. You got any of his stuff, whether it's the Melonade, the 4516, whatever, his shit is mine. He goes, look, if I can taste it good through a blunt, I know the shit's tasty. And I was like, never thought.
That's when you know it's good, bro.
I never thought about that.
Because it's true, man. It's true. Like when I'm looking to think of stuff, when I want to taste it, dude, like I said, I just go for the flower. I don't go for the flavored stuff. I stay away from blunts. I stay away from flavored wraps. Even like the natural wraps have a little bit of a taste to it, and that affects like the taste of my flower, because I know I've got like some certain strains they've got a taste. And you roll it up in paper, and then you roll it up in a blunt or something, and you're like, well, where's the taste that where'd it go? Like what's happening?
Yep. And of course, even and then vaping different things, it's very interesting. But again, that's the temperature gradient and terpene volatility and things are affected based on how you're consuming. But again, we're all consuming the same thing as we talked about a long time ago. It is the oil. It's the trichome heads. That's what we're getting. And how do you do that? I know you kind of asked a little bit about that, but one thing I'll throw out there is positive stresses.
Yeah.
Well, why would you want a positive stress? Well, let's think about it. What is trichome? If you look it up in the dictionary, it says a plant hair. That's pretty basic, right? Well, what the hell is that plant hair doing? It's doing a lot of things, actually. It's protecting from desiccation, right? It's protecting from the cold. So it's like a sweater. It's a sunscreen. It's all these general things. So if I've got really good intense sun, that's going to help more oil production, right? If I mimic things like a frost that's coming on, winter frost, you know what I mean? It's going to put more oil out to protect itself. So literally, those positive stresses at the right times get these effects and get us to really be able to push out that oil and truly be an oil farmer. Because otherwise, you're farming that oil. Because otherwise, it's not that they're not going to push it out, but you may not be able to push it out to its maximum expression, right? Because it at that point is just going off of what environmental cues are there. Whereas I can use certain things or biostimulants or chelation technology to mimic something that's going to happen to create that response. So in a weird way, it's almost like an SAR, almost like a systemic acquired resistance response with like harpin proteins or something like that, where you're mimicking it to get the response, even if that's not actually happening, right? They're not actually getting attacked by bugs when you hit it with harpin proteins, but it's initiating those defense responses because you've told it to.
Nice, man. Fucking hell, bro. Guys, smash the like button for that. Huge shout out to RX and M8V3, who just became a member, man. You guys, if you're not a member, join up with the Patreon fam, join up with the ICANN Bean Club, man. And you mentioned earlier, dude, you mentioned vapes. So that leads us perfectly to our last question on the Bud segment, which is edibles or vapes? What's your preference and why?
Like, it's funny because neither of those am I really that into. Probably vapes only because I've got enough of a tolerance with edibles where I have to eat a decent amount to get there, but then I might get over the cliff pretty easily. You know what I mean? Like
someone may push you off and you don't realize you're just like, oh, falling.
Yeah. I mean, like that, edibles can make me pretty tired sometimes, but a good live rosin pen or something like that. Like I know Green Dots have got some really good rosin pens that actually, retain that entourage effect, which is important. I like those. But that's
Yeah.
That's kind of just getting you through to the next real smoke session. It's kind of how I always feel with pens. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Gummies are for like international flights or whatever. That's,
It's true. I like that, man. Well, that was an awesome Know Your Bud segment, man. Huge shout out to Qualitrips for sponsoring that, man. Definitely check them out. And yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that. But one thing I wanted to ask, dude, was about the winter frost. So a few people have dropped questions about the winter frost, and they were asking like just about exactly what it does. So from what I've seen, a lot of people use it. They get some awesome fucking results. They get some awesome colors coming out.
Yep.
And what it does is it triggers a lot of different responses as the pan is finishing. So can you just go into it a little
Totally.
bit?
Yeah. So it is a finisher, in the simplest sense. You could call it a finisher, a ripener, something like that. What it does is it initiates a process called senescence. Wow. Senescence is a natural ripening process, happens in any annual plant. We just get to say when it happens. It's similar to even like in the fall when you got a maple tree that's green all year, but then all of a sudden it turns red in the fall. Where those red pigments were there the entire time. It's just once the chlorophyll dies off, the red shows through. Exact same things happening. So we're dominated by, chlorophyll because that's the solar panels. That's how we're creating food. Once that dies off, there's other plant pigments that are there. Not always, but sometimes depends on the genetics. So I do like to mention that. I would never make a claim that it's going to create color where there's no color. It's got to be in the genetics. Again, it's not God. It's just a plant that's trying to initiate, the responses within the genetics. So if there's red in there, red's going to show through, purple's going to show through, whatever. Or it's just going to, could be some good fire chem green weed that's just going to yellow out and fade out really, really nicely. So at the end of the day, it's a standalone pre-flush. You use it either by itself or with our Ruby fulvic, which is our fulvic acid, nothing else. You don't absolutely need the Ruby, but the Ruby is going to maximize uptake of anything you're using it with. So it's just going to help condition that rhizosphere and maximize uptake. So always good, but it doesn't trigger, winter frost to work or anything like that. So use winter frost the second to last week. So if you're a strict 8-week person, feed through 6, doesn't matter how you like to do it. Feed with winter frost week 8, at least 3 waterings, but you can definitely do more than that. I feed twice a day and do like 5 days worth of total, like 10 waterings. But for the people who only water every other day or something like that, get at least 3 waterings in and then flush for 7 to 10 days after you stop using it. More oil, more color, more individualization of your strains. Straight up, this is the product that put us on the map. If it didn't work, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. That's perfect, man. Hell yeah. Because like a lot of people did mention that. And what I did notice recently is that the Ruby actually works perfect with it. And you touched on that just now as well. So can you just quickly just sort of go through exactly what that does?
Yeah, Ruby, real straightforward. It's a 9-source fulvic acid. Reason we can't put fulvic on there is because it's a USDA thing. Okay. So you have to pay a lot for it. It's a testing thing. You have to pay a lot for it. Reality is fulvic acid, just a lighter molecular weight. Humic acids help nutrients be retained in the substrate. Fulvic acids act as a natural chelate to help it be uptaken. Okay. So again, it conditions the whole rhizosphere, maximizes uptake. Every other product on the market is a single source fulvic acid. Also, ours is not chemically extracted. It's cold water press extracted. So it's non-chemical, very natural, has a bacteria biopack in there as well. That truly is Neil's favorite product. He's most proud of that. We're most popular for winter frost. This is what he's most proud of.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Nice, man. That's pretty friggin' amazing. And there are a bunch of other products as well, man. Like this Decision, which initiates rapid flowering. That actually kind of caught my eye because I'm an impatient dude, man. I'm a super impatient dude. So anything I can do just trigger that flowering phase a little bit faster. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the reality too, right? Like almost very few nutrient charts or feed charts out there address the fact that there's really veg transition in flower. There's a mid time there that the plant really doesn't know what's going on. You think about it in nature and it's ticking down a few minutes a day to the point where it gets into around 12 to 14 hours and then it'll initiate flowering. It's not overnight, right? So when we flip it overnight like that, it's literally going, what the hell's going on here? And it takes a while, right? It's a phytochrome red and phytochrome far red that a plant knows its photo period, right? So the red builds up during the day, the far red degrades at night. So that's literally how it knows, but it takes it a second to get its ass in gear. And that's literally why you have so much of a stretch period there too, because it's literally going, what the hell's going on? So 2 things. It's going to help initiate bud set faster. It just goes, hey, this is what's going on. The plant goes, okay, cool, great. And as a secondary effect of that, it will reduce stretch a little bit. Not like a Bushmaster. It's not going to cut it off, but it's going to reduce it a little bit just by the fact of getting through transition faster.
Yeah.
That's really the only reason it stretches less. So you may actually end up taking stuff down anywhere from 3 to 5 days sooner just by the fact that you're in 3 to 5 days sooner. Yeah. You figure people say 56 days, but at 56 days, you know, there's a good week to 10 days at the beginning that really ain't shit happening yet.
Yeah, it's so true. Like the plan is just realizing that stuff is changing. It doesn't. It's not like as soon as you flick the switch, it's like, okay, we're counting flower time. We're flowering.
Exactly. And I always figure the more triggers you can give it, the better, right? Whether it's spectrum, whether it's temperature, obviously photo period, you know, all these things, all those kind of, you know, help add to the bigger picture to really get it going. And then this is really just a cherry on top. I grow in tents as well. I'm able to actually literally grow GMO in the tent. In part by using this product. And that's not the easiest thing to do. So two things. I'm able to do it, one, by getting a little bit less stretch at the beginning, and two, by the winter frost at the end, because I take it down in less than 9 weeks, and it's finished.
Yeah.
I mean, I've literally been in a shop in Michigan with them pulling a scope off the scope. There's no way you finish this in 8.5 weeks. Scoped it right in front of them. Done for sure. Reality is, if you ran it another 4 weeks, you would get more production. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say you get the same amount of production, but you can get a finished plant. So, you know, we're used heavily in commercial situations too, because things are so scheduled. It's one thing when you got a home grower and it's like, man, I don't know, I'm going to harvest over the next week, 2 weeks, like whatever. Right. But if you're in a commercial situation, it's like, nah, day 57, the trimmers are coming. This shit's got to be done. You can't go, oh, hey, you know, only take down like half of the room. No, man, it's over, you know, and typically you get people monocrop in a room, but still, even with the monocrop, it still helps everything come down really, really even.
Wow, that is amazing, dude. Like crazy. As KJ all day is saying, shout out to KJ. This one is different and this is crazy and completely new, man. That's literally what I thought as well, brother. Don't worry about it. But I've also got another question here from Cliff. He's asking, will you guys have smaller bottles or do we have
down to quart bottles. We have small bottles, yeah. And I've got, you know, and you probably saw them at the show. We've got a box called a Pet Pack that's got 12 individual quarts in there. And the Achilles heel in that box is going to be the autumn, just because you use most of you use in a 1-to-3 ratio. It's about 125 gallons worth of autumn. For some people, that's plenty. Hell, for some people, that's a couple grows worth. You know what I mean? But then something like the Lightning Start, you're using a veg only at like 3 mils a gallon. A quart's going to last you a long time.
Yeah, that's perfect, man. That's good because like a lot of people don't realize a lot of the times less is more. And what I really would love to do is get some of these growers, some of these viewers, some of you beautiful people tuned in right now to smash the like button and get a chance to grow some of that awesome winter frost. Because like you said, that's the gateway jug. That's the product that really puts you guys on the map. And I think that that's an amazing product that a lot of people will love to get some use from, man. So thank you so much for you know, just allowing us to, you know, have that giveaway. So guys, smash the like button for that. And one last question I wanted to ask you, dude, is about powdery mildew, because a lot of people talk about it, you talk about it a lot, and it's something a lot of people face. So if there's a beginner grower who's facing that right now, what would you say to him, dude?
Environment. I mean, that's really where it starts, you know, and that's not the only thing. It's true integrated pest management, right? So that's going to be anything from number one, you gotta know it's there. You know what I mean? Recognizing it first and foremost, being on top of it. That's why I also tell people, put your head in the plants, you know, do things like, if you can, set up irrigation and things like that, so you can spend more time doing the horticultural work. Now, I do think hand watering is really important early on because it forces you to be in the plants, right? Because you have to be there watering it. And as a new grower, sometimes it's weird, but it's easier to be lazy almost as a new grower than an experienced grower. You know what I mean? Experienced grower knows, man, I got to at least poke my head in on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So I you know, I really stress working with the plants, good pruning techniques as well, keeping things opened up, keeping air movement through there, you know, spraying regularly with an oil-based product, maybe at least every other week, something like that. But really keeping your humidity in check, keeping your temperatures in check. It very much is an environmental issue. Not completely, but that's definitely where it starts.
Amazing.
Once it gets past that, it can get rooted in there. And sometimes I've had to do it, man. I've had to find who was my biggest offender and get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts.
There was a time where I brought in a very specific genetic, wasn't anybody's fault, but this thing was, had some like just bulletproof California PM that wasn't going anywhere.
Wow, bro.
Because here's the thing, man, but people don't realize this, and I won't get too into this, but where were your genetics selected from? What era? So the Eagle 20 era, for example, which people of my age, that was when we were smoking early on. That was the era, right? So you could have had these genetics. And I hate to say it, but who knows how much Eagle 20 we've all smoked. But in that era, you could have had genetics that they just took care of bad PM problems with Eagle 20 and nobody gave a shit, right? Nobody knew better. It was fine, right? Well, it wasn't fine, but we didn't know better, right? Whereas now, with testing and knowledge and everything else, you can't have a plant that's super susceptible to PM and actually be able to run it. So you actually have to find more resistance within the genetics, things like that. I mean, I've had genes, you could beat it with PM and nothing would just be clean as a whistle. You know what I mean?
Zillion mofos.
So it's like, starting to look at, so you can't, I just feel like some of those older genetics, which just was an older genetic that was selected out of there. Well, it's the same kind of thing, like plants that are selected out of the HPS era or selected out of an HPS room. Now you're taking it to an LED room and you're expecting it to perform the same. Again, way back when we talked about what the hell is phenotype, genotype plus environment equals phenotype. Phenotype being the expression of your genes. So again, your environment, your light's going to be part of that. So that's why I will say, pop your own beans, because you're literally popping them for your room. Otherwise, you're going to be doing like I do, and you're going to be getting a bunch of top level genetics, but you still have to sift through them, because I got to find what's best for my room.
Yeah, I got you.
My watering techniques, my lighting, you know what I mean? Like you
break it down completely differently there, dude. Like that's like thinking on a higher level, bro.
So think, really select for yourself, because otherwise, again, you're going to be running through some shit. And I've had some really good stuff that was great, that was top level, selling for 5-10K a cut shit that just didn't work in my situation. Feet didn't like being wet like that, whatever it happened to be. He didn't like being fed every day. It happens. It just happens. So think about that too. When even when you get some of these old school genetics, well, they could be much more susceptible to things like PM, and they could also be really don't show off unless they're under something like HPS. It's possible.
Fuck yeah. Wow. Crazy. I did not expect that answer, but beautiful answer, man. Thank you so much for that, dude. Appreciate it. And I can't pronounce this name, dude, but this person is asking, they've been using advanced nutrients for years, not sure if I should change. I'll probably say, man, you've got to try something new at one point in your life. You gotta try something new. Here's the other thing I'll say. You're not going to be buying somebody else another Ferrari, okay? Yeah. When you buy shit from me, you actually put food on my table. You feed my children. This is no bullshit, and I tell people this because it's an honest answer. You're not making a rich guy richer. You're literally taking some real, true guys that are, have been street guys, have been part of this industry way before it was legal, and so you're really supporting some real ones. So now, the other thing I'll say, I say plays well with others. If you like your advance and you're used to how it works in your water and you're familiar with the pH, grab some Winter and Ruby. Rock on with it. Grab some Winter, Ruby, and Carbo. Chuck out the Carbo load. We made Carbonaria to be a better, cheaper Carbo load. It's got 20 different direct plant extracted sugars in it. Basically, Neil was like, I can make a better Carbo than Carbo load. And Carbo load sells, millions and millions of dollars around the world. Yeah. So if you don't want to smoking super glue, right on. I was just smoking glue. Love glue. So you don't have to go full in either. You can definitely grab it a piece at a time. You can even hit me up and I'll send you over what we have. It's called a sauce your base schedule. Our bases aren't even on there. It's literally just our additives wrapped around whatever base program you want. So, I literally have, I got tons of Athena people that run Athena and they run all my shit on top of it. Great. They're killing it. Keep it up. Fuck yeah. That's what's up, man. I like that one. It plays well with others, man. Hell yeah. So guys, that's what's up. Smash the like button for that. I think we've touched on a lot of different things, Darren, like from, just your experiences growing up, the first time you smoked, a lot of different things. So Appreciate it. Thanks a lot for coming on. And yeah, guys, smash the like button for that. Don't forget to hit the comments down below for the giveaway. And yeah, we will see you.
Yeah, it kicked me off there for a second. I don't know if it just we hit our time period or whatever.
No,
yeah,
you're absolutely good.
I think we did touch on a bunch of great stuff. You know what I mean? And again, anybody that's got any questions, please hit me up. I very much appreciate the time. Thanks for everybody coming and hanging out. One other thing we were talking about too, just the fact that we came across each other at CanaCon, I definitely want to make a push for a lot more of these smaller shows because I really do enjoy connecting with you people and connecting in this way and be able, whether it's a Dude Grows Cup or like, Cloud Cultivation Cup or Organic Cup or Gene Traders or some of these different things that go on around, it's got a little bit, corporates come in, you know what I mean? And you definitely feel that when you're at the shows. And I know some people, mentioned that too, that it was like, where's anybody for the home growers? Well, I can tell you, we're here for the home growers. We're one of the few that's left. I've got literally I've got 10 people all the way up to 5 acres indoors that run my products. It's really for anybody. That's true. It's 250,000 square feet and they're doubling the facility. So it's really for anybody and everybody. It's for whoever wants quality, whoever's goal is for that genetic potential, phenotypic expression, that oil farming, anybody that's doing that, we're here to play ball. Doesn't matter if you're big or small.
Amazing, man. That's what's up, guys. So don't miss out on that. And for anyone who wants to get in touch with you, Jaron, like just where can they find you if they want to see what you guys got going on?
You can definitely, you can find me on Instagram with JERIN_H_. Not a lot of Jarons out there. Should be pretty easy to find, especially if you guys are connected with some other cannabis people. I'm sure I'll pop right up. And then also, as mentioned before, you can email me too, Jaron at nmgardens.co. That's JERIN at nmgardens with an S.co, not com.co.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thanks everybody for coming out, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I saw somebody in there from Scotland. I'll be over there again. You can get our products, by the way, in the UK. We do have a new a distributor in Spain as well, too, called Cinco 8. We've been working some stuff into South Africa. I'm working some deals to try to get down to South America. But the UK is definitely on. I think you can get the whole line over there. I was over there at the Autopop Festival a few years ago. Then COVID hit. But I plan on hopefully being at Spanibus and doing a UK run in the spring. So hopefully I'll see you guys out there.
Hell yeah, man. That's what's up, guys. Again, smash the like button for that. Thanks a lot for coming on, Jaron. And on behalf of like the ICANN THC channel, myself, we had like 100 people tuned in, and the thousands that'll watch the episode afterward, man. Thank you so much for kicking it with us, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Smash the like, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace, fam.